So where we left off at was, why did you get married?
I got married because we had a child. That's why.
Okay. So basically it was pretty much the right course of things, the right thing to do at that point.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So you just only have one child
Mhm.
with your husband? Okay. And were you already, so you had the child first, then got married, or it was like while you were pregnant?
Yeah. We it was right after the child, right after our daughter.
Right after the child?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So and it's no shot against you, but it was planned, or it wasn't planned?
Mhm.
Okay. It's just the course of things, you figure I just go ahead and get married or whatever like that.
To be an adult about it, to
Right.
do that.
Right. So the whole marriage, so I know earlier in the previous video we were talking about how you said that why just shack up and why are we dating if I need to have something come of this instead of us just dating or whatever. So at this time, obviously the gentleman you were speaking about earlier, he wasn't in the picture per se. This was after the fact. Was this,
Uh,
just to get the timeline right, was this the point, was this before he said the therapy or after the therapy thing
this
where he?
was before, because I'd known him for a long time. So
Mhm.
since I was about like 18. But I
Right.
just, like, for him, he was always filling me out and then like seeing what he could do with me. But I wasn't serious, I wasn't
Yeah.
serious. So yeah.
Yeah. So basically, so later on when you moved to Virginia was the point where it was like, I think you should get therapy or whatever because of these thoughts or whatever. Cool. So have you always been into older men? I guess because you described this age gap between both of these gentlemen that you talked about. Have you always been an older man, or?
No, I haven't. I just started to see what older men had to offer other than younger men.
Mhm.
And the men I met my age, I just felt like I was the old one and I was
Right.
like the logical one. And I said, this can't be true because,
Right.
you know, I play and I like to, like, I'm so unsure, and I said, I just didn't like that feeling. If I don't even know where I'm going, why? You don't even know where you're going. So
Yeah.
it was like a sense that they already had something, like even for you. So I like that comforting feeling. And then I became just to love older men, and people didn't believe me. And I said, yeah, I'd rather stick around with that, like your father, I'm not interested in you. So yeah,
Right.
like that.
So so basically, and I guess this is kind of like what he talks about on his platform. Why he speaks a lot about women dating older men because guys your age, and you kind of just hit it on the head by saying that, like, I'm like leading a relationship, so to speak. I'm like trying to progress, but you really don't have anything for me. You're like either where I'm at or don't have as much, or your mindset is not where it's at right now. And I'm more so looking for a mentorship or progression. But in terms of 22, 23 years old, which I guess where you were at that point, you weren't seeing that with this other gentleman that you were talking about earlier, I guess. I'm
Yeah.
assuming. Is that correct?
He wasn't seeing that in me. He wasn't seeing that in me because he was always high value. He always had something going for himself. But like
I'm
I
talking
said,
about the guy that was your age.
uh, oh well, okay, we're talking about a different man.
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
men
we're talking about the
that
guy that's your age.
I meet my age, yeah, it wasn't that they didn't have anything. I think more of like the mental state, because I wouldn't mind building with the person my age. I wouldn't mind us both, working together and, having something like that, like Kevin said, startup marriage or startup, thing like that. I wouldn't mind it at all. I just couldn't mentally be on the same page with the younger
Yeah.
man. I couldn't do it at all.
And women tend to be, and it's a known thing, women tend to mature faster. Women tend to be more mature in the younger years, obviously, than men are because of the experience. So and I'm pretty sure a lot of people watching this can agree with what you're saying, that, you know, you mature a lot faster and it's just like, I'm here and this guy is still playing games, or, you know, so on and so forth. So I could definitely see that. So basically at that point, so with this gentleman coming back into your life, obviously you married this older man. And let me segue, because I don't want to mix it around. So you mentioned about your father, because I think Kevin asked you about your father.
Yeah.
Your father did your husband come to your father first, or how did this work? Like, or did you come to him and say, "Hey, Dad, this guy, you know, we you know, we already had our child. This guy wants to marry me. What are your thoughts?" How did that conversation go?
It was something like that. I let my dad know while I was pregnant. I let him
Right.
know, and you know, the age difference and everything. And he said, he was like, yeah, you know, you're gonna regret it. You're gonna regret. He was basically telling me that you're going to be sexually, you're going to be at a point where you're going to be like, your sexual peak is too high for him.
Right.
And that, you know, that's going to be such a difference. And besides that, he was letting me know that you're going to lose a lot of life with being with someone who,
Right.
like, yeah,
What?
he lived his life. And he was saying, like, the only thing that you could really get out of this are, you know, survive this without regret, as you need to make sure that he's taking care of you, that
Right.
not smothering you, that you still have friends, and that you're still, you know, a young lady. You know, not saying that I want to cheat or anything, when he said this is
Hmm.
how you're gonna make it. So, you know, if anything happens to him, even, yes, like he's talked about insurance, has
Right.
life insurance. And when I really think about it, I said, yeah, he's honestly right. You know, it's not anything can happen to me tomorrow. It's just
Absolutely.
more the fact that if you're at this age, it already, those things should be set. It wouldn't matter if I was his age also, these things
Right.
need set, you know. So a lot of people thought it was just I'm after something, but I would
Mm.
expect that even for a younger man, I would definitely get life insurance with him, because it's more likely
Yeah.
something can happen.
Absolutely.
So I my dad was like, you need to make sure if you walk away from this, or if he walks away from you, that you're set, you know. And that the next man or the next person is gonna have to bring already what you have, because that's as I wouldn't say tradition, but he said that's how it has to be for you to
Right.
get to keep living, you know, keep living a decent life. So yeah.
So and I'm not trying to be funny. What's the age? Because I know your pops is spitting game. He wasn't completely against the marriage, is what I'm getting from you.
Yeah, he was. I came to him while I was pregnant, so he said, you know, there's nothing he could do about it now, and there's nothing that, you know, he said you might as well get the ring and, you know, just go from there. But yeah, he was against it, and especially because my husband, he's not African American, he's not black.
Right.
So
Right.
my dad was like, "Oh no, black man is gonna want you," and that they're really territorial, and that, oh, he said to me that I didn't have good encounters with black men. That's why, you know, you got this guy over here, and you know, he's not gonna treat you as he would treat his own. So he was like, he was telling me on that, but I said, you know, it's a different world now.
Right.
So yeah, he told me things like that.
So what's the age difference between him and your father?
My dad is like 62, and then how old is,
It's about 8 years.
no, 56, 57, 8, 9, 61. 6 years, just 6 years.
6 years. Okay, so they're about the same age range. So I
Yeah.
mean, I get it. His reservation. He's an older gentleman. He's used to traditional couples, maybe black woman marrying black man, and outside, you may not be a part of that culture per se, and that's probably why he was saying the same things that he was. But I think he did give you some good advice to make sure that you are protected in terms of if anything does happen, with this gentleman, that you are secure in terms of, as far as life insurance. And I think you mentioned on that video, you said something about, did you say something about him saying about a house?
Yeah.
Your father saying, make sure that he's open. Yeah. So that would be some advice I would give my daughter. Like, if you do, I wouldn't necessarily say to date that old. Like my father never married my mother. My father was 31 years older than my mother.
Oh wow.
But he never married her. He was married. She was just a side chick. I'm not ashamed to say that. So, but what I would tell my daughter, if that's what she wants to do, like, he needs saying everything you were saying on the last video. He needs to be able to provide that home. If you choose not to work, he needs to be able to take care of you and whatever children you guys have. He needs to have the life insurance policies in place, whatever else to sustain this family. You know what I mean? So, I get, because obviously you were younger. I don't know how much other advice your father imputed into you, but I think your frustrations came from you being young, and which is right for you to expect this man to, like, provide these things as I'm entering into marriage, instead of I'm a 23, 24-year-old, and here I am spearheading where we should be at, and you're doing it on your own time. You know what I'm saying? And here, like, a guy that you were into before just comes back into your life and says these things, and you're just like,
everywhere.
Women love a fairy. Go ahead. What do you say?
It's like everywhere I went, and it would be random. Like, I download an app, and then he has the app. He'd be like, okay, we have to catch up. Are you coming out here? I'm coming out there. Are you close? So it was just always things like that, and it kept going in my mind, like, what if, like, when am I gonna grow to that point where we could actually do something, and then probably even just have a child. I was just thinking about everything, so.
I'm not saying it's a fairy tale, but I know men do too, think about scenarios.
Yeah,
but
that's definitely what it was. That's what I should have. That's probably what I should have said instead of what I said before. It should have played out like the scenario in my head was, reminiscing, like, what if, and that's basically what it was.
So where we're at now, so based off of the video that we saw, your husband's a provider. He's a hardworking man. This is kind of like, I guess, where the negativity, not negativity, but basically where everybody's coming down on you. Like, you got a hardworking man providing for you and your child that you guys have together, but you want this other person. What would be the ideal situation for you at this point? Because obviously it's made it, it's made it back to him. It's made it all over the world. What would be the ideal situation for you at this point?
I'm gonna stay.
If you could have things your way, if you could wave your magic wand like a fairy tale, how would you have it if you had a choice? Which you do got a choice, but go ahead.
Well, if you could say, if I could wave my magic wand, I would not be married. I wouldn't even be married to that high value, the other high value man. I think that I would play it as of, yes, my child's father is always a provider. And with having a child, I'm already provided for. Just, being a mother, I would still step up, and I would say keep leveling up myself, and then deal with different types of high value, just people, period. And I wouldn't be settled to just that one particular man, because I see that it could be both ways if I wasn't married. So I would take myself out of the union of marriage because I feel it was something rushed for me. It wasn't thought
Right.
out. And now, looking back at it, saying it's a covenant over God, I definitely felt
Yeah.
like it felt deceitful after, saying it, to say that, yeah, I made a vow, and I'd rather not have that to hold up, and when I'm
Right.
ready to hold that up, I think that it would be much to wave my magic wand much later, much later.
But ideally, what I'm getting from you is you wouldn't necessarily want to marry this other gentleman. You would just want to be with him to see where things would go, but you would also want to date on the side.
Yeah, because he is very,
Okay.
like have colored eyes and all that, like, but he's just saying, what I mean. So I know that it would be other people. I just would always feel like, hey, if I'm one and I'm being not just number one, I'm saying if I'm a number and I'm taken care of, because I see how now and how men operate. And even with being just a woman, I'm going to be taken care of. I have a
Right.
child, taken care of either way. It was just to be marriage. I couldn't be being used. And, this high value man is still doing his thing. And I would just feel like I'm being wasted, and I'm wasting my time without,
Right.
it's not to say sexual part. I would just feel like I'm wasting my time with not living life. So that's how, I definitely feel about that.
So, and I hope this isn't too personal. So, do you love your husband, but you're just not in love with him? I
I
take it based off of what you're saying.
love, I love him. I could say first, yes, because we've been together for a while. He's like the only relationship where we got serious, we got married, and we do have a child. I only have one child, and it's with him. So I can say I'm in love that we have a family. I am in love that, um, like what he does, he will be always there. He's always done for me. I just think I fall out of love sometimes because of the age, and
Right.
it's like, yes, it lacks adventure. It lacks that excitement where I know someone my age or even closer, it is like it's not a thought that, yeah, we could pick up and we're gonna go, and
Right.
it's just so realistic. That not saying realistic, but he's so much into that. This is how it needs to be, and
Yeah.
I felt like just growing and being a little older. I'm like, no, I'm not like that. It could be like this. It could be like that. We can do these different things. So that's not what I like. That's not what I love. And I don't
Yeah.
think I hate it about my husband. I just wish that we were close enough that it was more of a commonality. Like we were on some
Yeah.
type of cohesiveness, but we're not. And I
Yeah.
think that I give up a lot of what I want to do, and everything. Not to say I want to be with other people. I'm just saying in general, I gave up a lot of that, and I feel so regretful.
Right.
And I feel hate on the opportunities that I passed up.
Yeah.
Definitely. So I am in love with him. I am in love, but I'm in love as of what love is right now, and it's basically someone caring for you, and he cares
Right.
for, and I care for him. And that's how it is. I love this man. Yeah, I do. I do.
Yeah. So what I gather from what you just said is that he's kind of the age gap, which this is the one part where I do disagree with. Dating older is a good thing as far as mentorship, so on and so forth, security. Basically, what you see is what you get because people that are older aren't really going to change.
Yeah.
But that age gap, yeah, that age gap, like you said, there is like could be a difference in commonality, as you say, a lot of things in common. What you like to do, he may not necessarily like to do, and so on and so forth. And because he's stuck in his ways, that the things that you may want to explore, he may not be into. So that is one of the things that I think in terms of a large age gap dating or marriage, what actually comes up, you know what I mean? As well as other things with, we can say health, so on and so forth. But I understand what you're saying. You're saying sometimes, because sometimes you feel this way, sometimes you want to do this, but he may not be open to that, or open to do these certain things, or you feel like you may be the adventurous one, or you may want to do these things, but he's just like, man, I'm not into that. And then you guys are from two different cultures as well. So it's, having those things. But, I totally did. I just wanted to ask you that just to see, how you felt in terms of that, because I think, and a woman's mind is so complex, but when you're really in love with someone, I feel like you would never want to be with anyone else. Does that make sense? You know what I mean?
That
But
I disagree. I totally disagree.
as
Because
a woman, at least. But go ahead.
being a woman, I believe that's absolutely wrong. We women
Mhm.
have a mind also, and when we just reminisce or ponder, like, wow, I am in love with this person as of right now in my life, but who was I in love with then? Who was I in love with at this different period of time? And then I personally, I just didn't love that. I felt like I was put in the position because we did have a child. We did. I only
Right.
got by this man, well, my husband now, and it felt like, that was that made me just think, wow, I was with other men, at the time, and I was dealing with people where I felt like I loved them already, because it was something we built on, and me and my
Mhm.
husband, and it's like, now, you're together, and it took time to love him. It took a lot of time to love him.
Right.
Was set in his ways, and I'm still learning. I'm still shaking off, other men imprint, that they had on me, and I was still finding myself, not saying just finding myself, but just actually living. So that's where I'm like, I definitely thought about a lot of people, a lot of men, and it was still people reaching out to me. So
Yeah.
it's hard not to say, if I was in love, or if anyone is loved, you can't think about no one else. You can think anything you want. You just can't act, upon that. And that's where I was like, I couldn't even think about nothing, because, you can't tell your husband, hey, I remember this and this and that,
But
this
but Jay, to be honest though, you acted upon it because it went past your mind and out into the universe. So you did act on it. I mean, come on now. You're right. We can have thoughts. I could be thinking about demolishing you right now in my bedroom. But that doesn't mean, I'm just being honest, but that doesn't mean that the world is going to know. You actually said it, like, yo, like, this is what it is. So that's what I mean by that, but I get what you're saying. We do have thoughts, we're human or whatever, but I feel, me personally, even though I may lust after a woman, if I'm truly in love with a woman, and I'm not taking anything from you, because everybody's entitled to feel the way they feel, regardless of how people got upset about what you said. They may be mad because you went on this platform and said this, but I think everyone's entitled to feel the way they feel. If you feel a certain way, that's how you feel. You know what I mean? But I mean, when it comes down to marriage, so on and so forth, this is obviously something that bothers. What happened?
I'm sorry, my alarm went off. That's it, just my
Yeah,
alarm. Sorry.
yeah, this is obviously something that bothers you, for you to actually go on and say this. And this is something like, man, like, where's my youth going at? what's my future going to hold? You know, is this what could be if I was actually with this person, so on and so forth. But my question to you is, how did you feel when Kevin said these things? Like, he called you a narcissist. I think he called you a narcissist. He called you a sociopath. Maybe like you're the worst type of, how did that make you feel? I don't want to quote, I think he said that. I'm not sure, but how did that make you feel?
He said a sociopath. I felt it was like horrible, but I didn't give him enough clarity.
Right.
And so I definitely understand how he got that. Because I just hit and was like, oh, I'm married, but I'm thinking about this other man, which is true. Thinking about this other man because that time, even I wasn't getting what I need from my husband, and he knows that. And it was just, and there I am in front of this screen, talking to this like Godfather, and I called and I wasn't thinking it was like clown night, like I see the other callers and I was like, okay, he's not doing, his thing, he's not doing all that. I said, okay, I'm gonna see, if he answers and he could say something about, how I'm feeling and, thinking about this other man because he is high value. Honestly, this husband is high value. And I'm lacking something right now and other things that he didn't let me get to in my marriage. And I was saying, hey, this high value man, he wanted me so bad. Like, I mean, over 11 years, and constantly, like year after year, he's always coming back and be like, hey, like, are you ready? Where's your mind at? And I felt like, man, I feel so different. Like, I'm in a different space. I converted, I grown, and now I'm like, I think I should go after him. That's, what I wanted to kind of speak upon. And yes, I am married. I put under the oath that I'm married, and I just understand that Kevin didn't understand that it's been so much lacking and not getting from my marriage that I was saying, like, so what, does a woman die? Do I have to die a slow death because of, me and my husband, we made this vow and it just went into because we have a child. I don't have children with anyone else. And, my husband, he's been married 3 times before me. And and I was like, I kind of wanted to get in that with Kevin because I was like going to say, is that fair? Like, just because older men, they get to this age, like, do you think that, I can't say like, hey, this is not what is, not to say the whole package, but this is going in a place where, hey, I need this, I need that, I need this. And it's just been over such a long time, and I wanted to hear from him because he is older. Maybe I'm just feeling this in the moment and I need to pick up what I am receiving from my husband and stop, saying, oh yeah, I'm lacking this and he's not giving me so much. I don't want to go into detail, just all that, but you said I'm lacking like about 6 things out of 10 and nothing is keep building up. I'm not finding what could be positive, but I know this other one who was after me and constantly and like reinforcing me, he was saying, when are you going to grow? And I felt like I talked out my childhood traumas. I talked all that stuff out where all these things in the past just didn't matter. And, my husband's been there. We all been together. And I was just like wanting to ask Kevin, what should I do? And I, once he got up and he got a drink, I really thought he was going to get a Bible, and like read a scripture to me. I was so serious. That's why I was like, okay, I was thinking he was going to do that. And
well, Kevin, and I'm gonna not to cut you off, but and you're right. he wasn't clowning. Like he was very receptive of what you said when you were talking, and he was like, "I'm glad you asked that question" and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
But one thing about Kevin, what you have to understand, his standpoint, he's old school. He doesn't care what's going on. You need to stay with that man. And anything outside, I think maybe he's on the fence as far as domestic things, which I don't agree. I think if it comes down to domestic stuff, I mean, cheating just depends on the situation. But
Hold on. I'm checking the time.
your
Yeah.
husband's what?
I said I don't want my husband to come home and then he's gonna see. He doesn't.
Yeah, yeah. Don't worry. We're about to cut it short though. I'm at the end. But what I was saying was he wants families to stay together regardless. And in your case, that's why he was like, yo, you're just, you may be destroying your marriage for this, hypergamous mindset, so to speak. And which is a lot of people are in agreement with him at this point. How dare you come on and, say this, but this is how you feel. And you're looking for advice or basically, I wouldn't say vindication of your feelings, of how you're feeling, but basically like validation to actually stay from what I'm getting from you, validation that you are currently with a high value man and that you should stay.
Yes,
And yeah, that's what you're saying. So
yes,
yeah, I
yes.
get it.
Yeah. And that's and we have family, and I have to push more on that, and just keep saying like I gave my body up to this man. We produced a child, and I just kept feeling like, yeah, we're family, and that's our bond. And I was like, that I always thought in my mind, just even with growing up, it has to be more than children, like don't burden your children to say, I only stayed with him, because of
Right.
you. And that's what I've heard before, and I said, I didn't want to put my child in it, speaking to Kevin, but I definitely would see, yeah, it's family first, it is definitely got to put that first.
Yeah. So just to end, we will end this here shortly. I did not, just so we can clarify, because people are going to think this, I did not put you up to call Kevin, right?
No. I did that by myself.
Okay.
And I'm not going to call no more. I'm not going to call. I'm going to stay off at talk shows, live. I'm not going to do that anymore. So
the reason why I say that, because somebody put in the comments that I put on a post I did, they're saying that I put you up to call Kevin so that I could do this interview after the fact.
Oh no, heck no.
Yeah.
I reached out to you because I know you, and then I know you do like the reactions and interview.
Right.
I said, I want to talk to you just so I can clear it up. Don't do a reaction to what he said, because that's not what I meant, and I wanted to give you clarity. So no, nobody put it up to me. Nobody was like, hey, call Kevin. No, I did that all on my own.
Right.
I reached out to you so you could, I wanted to be clear, and I know you're a good YouTuber, so you'll be easy.
Right. And everything she said, guys, she's correct. This woman, she is married. Everything she's saying is correct. She's not making this up. So just so people know, but in terms of I can't, you're married.
Yeah.
How you feel is how you feel. That's something to be addressed between you and your husband. I know a lot of people are like, I don't care about what she says. I want to hear what the husband said. What the husband got to say about this, so on and so forth. You know what I mean? Because of all of this, him finding out. And that's what, I heard people asking, what does the husband have to say about this?
Wow.
But
we'll have to see. Okay. We'll have to see.
Yeah, for sure.
So
absolutely.
I thank you, JR. I really thank you. But I have to run, okay?
I appreciate you. Yeah, I appreciate you though. We'll talk soon though. I appreciate you tuning in.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you. Bye.